Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slam Up Wrestling. Myself, Supreet, and this is the main roster talk. I'm joined by Ridwan here. What's up, Ridwan?
Hey Supreet, it's been a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a week, like you said. What you think about WrestleMania?
I would say, we weren't expecting much. I think we made that clear, heading into the show. But the show over the 2 nights, it was really nice. And I'd say the night one over delivered and the night two delivered just because we were expecting a bit more from there. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. What about you?
Overall, I would give it a 9 out of 10 because of the
That's
ambience,
still less.
because of
That's
the
still less, I would
ambience,
say.
and
Just
we had
joking,
the
yeah.
crowds back. So I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10 for that alone. Other than the quality of the matches, some of the matches we knew was gonna suck. I'm talking about Fiend versus Orton. Other than, and the main event for both nights were awesome as well.
Yes, some results what we were predicting actually didn't go according to that, but I'm happy with wherever, I'm happy with whatever they've like what was the end result of each match. Actually, some of them, yeah.
And
Like
by the
some,
way, uh, the next crowd we could expect from WWE could be SummerSlam.
yes, they haven't made that clear for any of the B shows, and I think it makes a little sense. Like depends where the whole COVID situation goes. So for now, keeping it for the B shows, like keeping the Thunderdome, is a fair call. And the next show itself is also the next show that is coming after WrestleMania is also WrestleMania. What are your thoughts on the WrestleMania backlash?
I don't know. I think it was, they knew how big WrestleMania was, so they wanted to capitalize on this hype. So they named a, D plus pay per view backlash and gave it a name WrestleMania backlash.
This reminds me of you remember the Saudi show they did on Eid, I think 2019 it was, the Super Showdown. They build it like what is if as good, if not better than WrestleMania,
WrestleMania, yes, I remember that. Yeah, I
the
remember
Saudi show.
them. Yes. And now that you have mentioned about the Saudi show, let's talk about it, right? What Russell Woods reported that WWE could be, by the end of the year, could be heading back to Saudi Arabia.
Yes, I I'm not a fan of any of these Saudi shows because
Who is,
it
man? Who is? Except for the people
no
of Saudi Arabia, nobody is
yeah,
actually interested in these Saudi shows. Why? Because these are giveaway house shows, like, concept. You know,
glorified house shows.
yeah. And
And
yeah,
now
go on.
continue. As in, like, it's just whatever the Saudi guy wants. Like, you remember the first show when he asked for Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, and Yokozuna, and I think there was another dead wrestler he had asked for. I don't know how crazy it's gonna get this time, but Goldberg is going to be there for sure, and I don't know if Undertaker. But I think if it's non-canon, then I don't think anyone cares about it either.
But honestly, I want to say, because for the past year or so, if you check AEW, if you check WWE, they have been doing their shows from the same venue, being Thunderdome, Daily's Place, or Performance Center. So it gets a little boring. So even though it's a Saudi show and we could be seeing a different venue, I'll be, I could get into that, even if it's a
Yes.
Saudi show at
And the
this moment.
crowd over there, yeah, and the crowd totally eats it up there. But just getting around the logistics of the entire, organizing a Saudi show, heading there, and especially with the latest, I don't know what's the protocol there currently in terms of flights and everything, but I wouldn't be surprised what's and especially I think, like you mentioned, it's going to be in November, right? November, December.
By the end of the year.
Yeah. So if it's November, the climate over here in the Gulf region is also going to be a little. It's going to cool down a little, and Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. At the same time, how are they going to organize the whole thing. But I am not a fan of these Saudi shows, and I could care less about it.
Expect some new controversies this year too.
Yes, the last show I think they did was the one where Goldberg won versus Bray Wyatt. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I remember that, and it was also the same show, where quote unquote nobody was allowed to go back home.
No, that was the previous one. The one
Ah,
that no
yes,
one
yes,
was
yes, you're
allowed.
right.
That
Yeah, the
was that
Goldberg
was the
one was Super Showdown, and what I am
yes,
mentioning was Crown Jewel.
was Crown Jewel, and the Crown Jewel was end of 2019, the one where Fiend won the championship, and on the next Saudi show, the Fiend loses the championship. So there is like some sort of correlation. I don't know what's going to happen this time, man. Like,
Who cares
but
about the
pretty sure.
Fiend, man? Who cares about the
Who
Fiend?
cares about the Fiend? Certainly not the creative team. No.
But let's try to get into Raw and SmackDown this week.
Yes. Let's do it. Do it.
But before that, if you are new to this channel, then make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check out our other content like AW Dynamite this week, where we discussed about Evil East being released from the company, and Blood and Guts being a one match event, like they said on commentary. Let's see how that works out. Check that out. So let's start from Raw, shall we?
Yep.
What you think about this
Let's
show?
go. Rubbish.
Are we surprised?
Like, no. It's been the same. Like, even if you're whatever, if you're going into the show talking about it, and if there's anyone listening, you wouldn't be. I mean, uh, you would be confused if you're talking about this week's show or the previous week's show, and I wouldn't blame you for the confusion, because it was just a copy paste, although with a little small tinkering here and there. And there was one match advertised and they didn't even do that. So why should we care?
You are talking about the dream match, Randy Orton versus
Yes,
Braun
Orton
Strowman.
versus Bronze. Yes, the match that no one wanted to see.
Do you know why they cancelled it, or was it a typical Vince thing?
I think, I mean, if we can get into it, I think that's the reason, because if the reports are to be believed, we'll get around it, so it's fine.
So what did we have on this week's Monday Night Raw?
Well, if you want to copy paste, so I mean, with a little, someone, you must have heard of the meme, right? So it's like, uh, can I copy your homework, but just make sure it isn't too obvious. So I think it's that, but it's the same person writing it. I don't know how do I get around this. It's it's just terrible. So initially, I mean, the show starts. I think we can it was divided into two segments, so I think we can cover this up in one go. So last week, Drew McIntyre had won the number one contendership from in a triple threat match versus Randy Orton and Braun Strowman. But after the match, Drew was attacked by uh, two forgotten, I mean, not forgotten members, but two very like outcasts of Retribution, that is Mace and T-Bar.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
So
whoa,
this,
whoa! Mace and T-Bar. Don't you mean
yes,
Dio Madden and Dominic Dijakovic?
yes, but for now they are trying to call them Mace and T-Bar. We'll get around the whole. We'll get around it soon. So this whole thing starts off with Drew saying, "I am the guy, and why did you attack me? How can you slap? How can you attack me? Something like that." And then Mace and T-Bar come out and they utter some garbage, and it becomes a 2-on-1 handicap match for later in the night, which becomes a regular tag team match playa Braun Strowman Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre versus Mace and T-Bar. I mean, the match ends in a disqualification win for both Mace and T-Bar, but the main takeaway from this isn't actually the WWE Championship contender. It's Mace and T-Bar getting unmasked, and we get to see who was it? Who was it?
Dominic
Who do
Dijakovic
you?
and Dio Madden.
I was building up to it, Supreet. Why?
I messed up,
Just
man. I
joking.
messed up.
It's okay. It's okay. It's WWE. We can. They mess up all the
We are
time.
live, pal, as they say.
Sorry.
We are live, pal, as they say.
Yes. We don't care.
But
So
now you have said all this. There was story of retribution members getting unmasked, but there was also the same story of whether these two are affiliated with the new Hurt Business or MVP, Bobby Lashley, etc.
that's a very interesting intrigue, if you want to talk, if you want to call it that. But man, it's not going to take them 2-3 weeks to forget about this thing that ever happened. But as Mace and T-Bar being a part of Hurt Business, what are your thoughts? As in, if potential parts, what are your thoughts on that?
I will always say this question: why did you break the original Hurt Business then?
And why did no wait, we are good with that. I was gonna say, why did you have to break the original retribution? But then it was Mercy killing, so
Nobody
we
cared
we
about retribution. I'm talking about
that's
the
okay.
Hurt Business. Why did you
Yeah,
break the
you could
original
take
Hurt
that.
Business? But
I don't know.
at this point, if they want to affiliate these two guys with MVP and Bobby Lashley, so be it.
Yeah, if they have something to sink their teeth into. But I can't. I mean, it's so weird for me because I personally believe I mean, T-Bar or Dijakovic, they paired him with the wrong retribution member if you want to make it an interesting tag team, because I feel T-Bar, Dijakovic, and Slapjack, Shane Thorne, they would have made a better tag team than Dio Madden, or what was his name again? Yeah, Mace. Because I mean, I'm not very familiar with how Mace is as a wrestler, but T-Bar and Slapjack, uh, man, never mind. Dijakovic and Shane Thorne, they both have similar skill set for a wrestler. I mean, both are big, strong dudes who can fly. So it would have made an interesting, and according to me, it would have made a better tag team than Dio Madden and Dijakovic. What are your thoughts on having to pair Dijak and Dio?
I think Vince needs more big guys on TV, I guess.
Which I wouldn't blame him for it. I think it's not that bad of a call, but I personally feel this Shane Thorne and Dijak would have made a better tag team. It's
I
just
think
me.
Shane Thorne is being sent back to NXT.
Poor guy, man. He can't even catch a break. Anytime he has like a little bit of momentum going, they just take the rug from underneath him. It's like his main tag team partner went away. Then they did a little bit with Brendan Wink on Raw when MVP was managing them. Do you remember that?
That was the starting of the pandemic era, right?
Yeah, just around that. Poor guy. Poor Shane Thorne.
And by the way,
Can't catch a break.
talking about Drew McIntyre getting the number one contender spot again, what you think about this decision? I think I said they could have done a one-off with Braun Strowman. I know Bobby Lashley has beaten him in the past, but they could have done a one-off
True.
with Braun Strowman, or even Randy Orton.
Randy and Bobby would have been an interesting match, but I don't think anyone would have cared. But you wouldn't care for any of the other two either. So my point is completely out of the window. But I think it kind of makes sense if you're calling it WrestleMania Backlash. And Drew wasn't. I mean, he was definitely beaten. I mean, yeah, he was beaten comprehensively, but he had tapped out. I mean, he had faded. He didn't tap out. So I feel this is going to a similar route as what we've seen around 5 years ago with Impact when they did a submission versus I Quit match. I wouldn't, that was a very good match. So I wouldn't be against watching it. watching that stipulation match, I just don't know how, with the amount of time Drew has been in the main event scene, I don't know how to, should I care, should I not?
So, is the second time a charm for Drew then?
No, I think Bobby's still retaining, which we said the opposite during the Mania review, but I don't know, man. Just,
But anyways,
and
man, that's the WWE title picture. What else did we have on Raw?
the rest of it was just filler. So speaking of the Hurt Business, so they did a redo of previous week's match, which was Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, the fallen members of the Hurt Business, taking on the returning the Viking Raiders. That's Eric and Ivar, who's returning from a neck injury, I suppose. Ivar.
Are you sure, or were those guys the Viking Raiders or the Viking Express, like the new
Experience.
commentator said?
Yeah, oh yeah, the Viking Express. Man, even the Viking Raiders experience express, they can't even catch a break because no one knows. I mean, no one knows what to exactly call them. They were War Machine, then War Raiders, then Viking Experience, then Viking Raiders, and now Viking Express.
And before we talk about this tag team match, I want to get your thoughts on this. New commentator for Raw. We'll talk about SmackDown. This new commentator for Raw. What's his name? Adnan Work.
Adnan Wing.
Yes,
Adnan Work, yeah.
Work. Yes. Yes. What's been your take on this new commentator? Because he has the voice. He has some journalism experience, but he doesn't. Isn't yet familiar with the WWE product.
It'll obviously take a while for him, but for what he was given, I mean, what he has done so far, it's okay, because all commentators tend to start bland. But for someone with a more, proper sports background, and you want to do instant comparisons with Mauro Ranallo, he's become the benchmark of commentators now, because of how great his tenure was in WWE / NXT. But I think he's going to take a while. But with that, Byron Saxton's, he's okay. He's not very good, except when you give him something to work with. That's if you give him something to work with, that is his strong suit, and which hides his weakness. And you got Corey Graves back on Raw for some reason, which I was like, no, 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 no.
I think they
But
had to, he can lead Adnan Work.
yes, if he's the one with more experience, rather, and someone with a more dignified role as a commentator in WWE. So I think that's fair, but I can't get behind Corey Graves anymore. It's been 2 years, and like my appreciation for his commentary has gone.
Why?
I don't know. It's just the same old garbage that he's been spewing out for like 2, 3, 4 years, and I don't think his character is. I mean, not character. His work has evolved. It's just the same. And except you would say it's gotten a bit sour, because maybe if he's still hating Elias, that's okay. But he had like a certain. He's been like, as a heel, he's just kissing ass instead of continuing his legacy as someone he had like a personal vendetta against, like Elias. But nah, it's just it's just not working out for me anymore.
But yeah, let's. We were talking about Viking Raiders being back. They crushed Benjamin and Alexander for the second week in a row.
Poor Shelton and Cedric. It's just main event or nothing now.
By the way, did we
I,
get AJ Styles and Homos for this past two shows?
no, the new tag team champions are nowhere to be seen.
There you go, man. That's the tag team situation over there.
That's the tag team situation you're not supposed to care about, and we don't. If WWE doesn't, then why should we? Right?
Anyways, what's going on with the women's division over on Raw?
So Charlotte Flair is back, and this comes as not much of a surprise that she's immediately thrusted into the main event picture. But wait, there's more. So Charlotte Flair last week cut an entitled promo on Raw saying that she is the benchmark, she is the opportunity. I think it was a very good promo by Charlotte Flair. But again, like it's like you're going back to a heel. They didn't do much with her as a babyface except having Ric Flair and Lacey Evans do their shenanigans. But as a heel, I think that gives her a lot to work with. And since she's now again into the title picture with Rhea Ripley and Asuka, which seems like the original plan heading into Mania. And Charlotte and Asuka have Charlotte was it yeah, Charlotte and Asuka have a match on later on in the night. And the match ends, it just ends the way it should. And Charlotte just beats the bejesus out of the referee, and she's fined. Guess how much amount is she fined?
100K.
Yes. And it's not even the first time they did it. They did it like way before. I think it was on Survivor Series when she faced Ronda. So she got fined 100K for that, and now she gets fined again.
So,
What's going on?
so WWE, is basically making her a edgier heel. This crazy ass woman.
Psychopath.
Yes.
I don't think it's not a bad thing to do, because you need something new with Charlotte Flair after, like, oh, she's a queen, she's an amazing wrestler. If they want to do more with that, I can totally understand. But again, it's not working out for me. I feel Charlotte as a character, or as a character, you would say, she's like the best women's wrestler. You should just keep on continuing with that. I don't think there's no harm. But I don't know, man, it's just weird for me.
So, how long has been she suspended for? 30 days, 15 days? What?
I don't think they've specified her length of absence. But there is a backstage report as to why did she get suspended. It's basically because she wanted to get some dental work. So let's expect her to be on Raw in the next couple of weeks.
So, could we see, a triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship?
See, that seems like the direction they are going, which was the original plan for. It seemed like the original plan for WrestleMania. But I mean, it's fine with me. These three are genuinely great, and you can only expect a very good match out of it.
So, what would be the end game be? Get the title back on Asuka?
I don't know. I think it'll be too soon for Rhea to end her title reign because she's just started. But maybe they can, test some new waters. If as Rhea as champion, they can have wrestle one-on-one with Charlotte, get her win back, and embrace her for new challengers, like possibly Io Shirai, if in 3 or 4 months time.
But at the expense of beating Asuka yet again, because Creative has been beating Asuka to a pulp for the last 2-3 years now.
I just move her to SmackDown and have her wrestle Bianca and Sasha. That's all.
No, that's no point because it's been too late. I don't know
They
what you
can
do with
still do
Asuka now.
it. Yeah, they can still do it and have this fresh start for her. But again, the damage is already done, right?
But let's talk about, I think this was the main highlight of the show. Matt Riddle. I will call him Matt Riddle, not only Riddle. So
Me
he
too.
surprisingly pinned Randy Orton. So I think this was the main highlight of the show, and it told me that they could make Matt Riddle look like a goof on television, but they are seeing something in this guy, and I think he will be in that upper mid card, you know, spot, not going down like one guys like Ricochet or something.
Nah, I think he's better off. He can hold his own, even if you compare him to Ricochet. But this was like you said, it's the main highlight of the show because they had someone, someone like Randy Orton get pinned, and that too clean. But it works because one, Randy Orton's bulletproof. If you bury the f out of him, he's not gonna, he's not gonna be affected. He's like one of the top guys. He's earned it. He's earned a spot, and he's only there to help younger talents as much as he can. So having Riddle beat him is like a big stamp of approval from the upper management. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting what are they going to do after they took the US title away from him. So you could see a lot of upside. I mean, this move by the creative itself is like a huge upside worthy move. But given the lack of depth on Raw for top baby faces, I think it only makes sense because there's no one else who is there. There's like Drew, and there's like a big void, and there are these other baby faces. So in that case, if they're elevating Riddle, then that's fine by me.
The only logical sense is that he go back facing Sheamus for the US title, because there is no point for him to challenge Lashley for the WWE title.
Especially now, if maybe 2 years 2 years, that's too much. Maybe like a month or two down the line, maybe they can do like a bit of a throwaway match on any pay-per-view. But
I
you
think
gotta take some positives
I
out of
think
it.
they should keep Lashley and Riddle far, far away as possible, because I think for the last 6 months or so, I think Lashley has squashed Riddle lots of time now.
Yeah, with the Hurt Lock, it
Yes.
made him look like a goof.
So
And
at
he is
this
a goof.
so at this point, go for the US title. I don't know who else you can build up for the WWE title picture. Maybe you can do with Keith Lee, but no, there
He's
is no one
nowhere
other.
to be seen.
Yes.
I hope, man, it's like an outside shot, but I hope they do something on Mustafa Ali as a babyface, which is a far ask, I know, given the whole retribution mess.
I think this guy is going to be missing from TV for the next 3 to 6 months.
Sad.
But
Move.
let's talk about Sheamus. So we talked about the US title picture. So he squished. Who was this? Humberto Carrillo.
Yes, Humberto. It reminds me of when Sheamus used to held this one open challenge during his WWE Championship run, and I think he defeated Zack Ryder to fulfill the 30-day defense clause. So he defeated Zack Ryder like in 10 seconds. So it was just a callback to that, which is good to see a little bit. But I feel this is building up to something.
Let's see who can they find out. There is, a guy named Damian Priest if they want to go after the US title.
Not now. I don't think they'll do that yet. But I have an interesting theory on that. I feel this could mean as a return for Keith Lee, and they can give him the US title that was initially planned in I think it was Elimination Chamber. So maybe they can do that, which is good with me.
And what happened with Damian Priest? Did he beat Miz again? Or what happened?
Yes, he did beat Miz again after being made to look like a goof last week by Miz, Morrison, and Maurice, which is a fresh addition to the act. But I feel now, they might have a match again. I, Maybe they'll have Priest squash Miz and Morrison on Backlash and have him move on. But I think with Bad Bunny out of the picture, it's ran its course. I don't think there's much you can do after that.
I think, yeah, like I said, he should be going after some championship.
And Sheamus versus Damon Priest is an interesting match. It's a fun match, totally, because I don't know what else. Like it's like a contrasting mash of styles. Like
Styles, yes.
Sheamus being a bit of a powerhouse and more of a brawler, and Damon Priest being this striking high flyer, little bit. So
They could
it's gonna be a.
also put him into a WWE title picture as well.
I think it'll be too soon,
Unless
and
unless it doesn't quote unquote hurt Damian Priest.
I like the pun that you've used here. It would hurt him, you know. It's like with Lashley is kind of untouchable right now, and I don't know.
I think WWE is waiting for Brock Lesnar so that they can finally put him with Bobby Lashley.
Yes, that's the biggest rumor right now, and I think it's planned for SummerSlam. If true, it's gonna be fun.
Let's see where that goes. What else did we have on Raw?
There was this nothing. There was this nothing. Shy. I'm struggling to get words out of my mouth here. There was this Naomi and Lana versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So it didn't even feel new, but the only takeaway was Mandy and Dana getting a bit of a comeuppance after Naya slipped last week. And if that's the story, then F off.
And by the way, they are teasing a breakup between Naya and Shane.
Yeah, they have been doing it forever, man. It's just get on with it.
I think it's
But
finally happening.
meh, meh,
Anything
meh,
else
meh.
on Raw?
There was an Alexa Bliss promo
Oh
about
god.
yes, that's still a thing. You may kill the fiend, but you can kill his bollocks.
So what you think
So
about
there
this
was
storyline, man? Alexa Bliss quote unquote turning on the fiend.
I could care less, dude. It makes no sense for me, man. It's not my wrestling, you know. The more I talk about it, the more I'm going to resent it. It's just going to stay the same, and I don't know what I don't know what else could you do with the story anymore, and how are you going to progress it? But just effing move on to it. Like, I personally can't swear because it's Ramadan,
I
so
see.
might as well just yeah, I can just keep it to that, man. It's
And
it's
no,
it's, it's rubbish.
no wonder these people got booed at WrestleMania.
Yes. And I wouldn't blame the fans for it because I don't care about the Fiend. I don't care about Alexa. I care about Randy, but yeah. Oh yes, we actually missed the point. So it seems like the report is that Randy Orton is injured from his match with the previous week, and hence they pulled off the match with Strowman, and hence Riddle beating him clean. But I don't know what's going to happen, but let's hope he's doing okay, and once if he comes back after a short break, it's going to be a bit more of a refreshed act. So let's hope
And
for that.
I also forgot that if he comes back, I think they're gonna do Randy Orton and Riddle again.
This time Orton getting his win back, and we are back to 50-50 booking.
Yeah, they could go to that direction, which I am not a big fan of, but this is WWE for you.
This is WWE. They don't care. Why should we?
So that was Raw. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, we've covered everything on Raw. So what did you think about SmackDown this week?
SmackDown, man, that was a certain point. It was an enjoyable show this week.
Yes. I mean, even last week's show was. I mean, it was. If you say like more in a grand scheme of things, it was quite same, but there were like different elements peppered in, similar to Raw, but on a more positive side. So we start off with a Seth Rollins and Cesaro promo
But yeah,
after.
sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I think we will. I think we planned to talk about it in the beginning, but let's get through it. So last week, we had a certain cleanup session in WWE, like they call it the budget cut. But
spring
I
cleaning.
want to ask you, how can you call it a budget? I said this same thing last year. How can you call this a budget cut when you got 30 to 20 other new recruits every year?
And especially with the Saudi money coming in, and even last year it was downright terrible of them to do when you're doing record profits and still calling it budget cuts to weed out the talent. I think last year it made a little bit of sense for me because they weren't doing anything. And even now, for that matter, they're not doing anything with these talents, might as well just let them go. But in the grand scheme of things, it's COVID, and people are finding it hard to get jobs. It was a terrible move then, it's a terrible move now.
But
So
still
that's all.
doesn't make sense when you are adding in 30 to 40 new talents, new fresh talents from other I don't want to say outside of pro wrestling.
Yes, outside of pro wrestling, and even on SmackDown this week, let's just address that too. They got in a new backstage announcer, so that's there. And very recently, they announced a new bunch of PC recruits. There was one who debuted on NXT this week. Her name was Sare, Sari Sare,
Saray, yes,
Sare.
yes.
She was the only known recruit out of this new batch, but yeah.
But let's talk about these new releases and talk about their history, what WWE did with them. So let's talk with who shall we talk first? Let's talk about the big one, Samoa Joe.
Yes, that
I,
was it was a huge shock.
I want to ask you, injuries aside, we knew he was quote unquote injury prone, but how the fuck this? How the fuck do you not come up with creative and use Samoa Joe well? Like this guy should have been WWE champion 3 years ago.
During the AJ feud.
Yes,
It's when they announced. So when they recently announced the new Raw creative team, sorry, the Raw commentary team, it was like the notable omission was Samoa Joe, and everyone was hopeful that they are actually going to do something with him in the ring, and everyone got their hopes up. But little did we know it's a way outside the WWE door, which, to be a very honest with you, I feel I feel it's for the better, because again, they might have been trying to pigeonhole Samoa Joe into a commentary position for the foreseeable future. And if even for any talent for that matter, if you're getting released from WWE, if you're not doing anything, there is so much to do outside of WWE now. There are like multiple companies who are coming up, and you're going to get more relevancy there than being a side part in WWE. Over there, you may call it a big fish in a small pond, but right now, like, if you're not doing anything in WWE, just leave. There's so much to do outside, and you're going to become a better star. But having said that, they did mess up with Joe big time, giving him constant losses after losses. And especially in that feud with AJ, I feel he was, despite the losses, he was a little strongly booked. But his injuries, and I think during his I, during his feud with Kofi, I feel that was the best time you could have made Joe a champion, even if you were trying to build up AJ's historic title reign. It's okay. But with Kofi's reign, I feel you could have freshened it up just a little bit, even if you think Kofi's reign was getting a little stale. But I personally enjoyed Kofi's title reign. It's like the best babyface championship run they did in forever. And I'm counting AJ's reign as well, because he was made to look like a chump most of the times. But yeah, Joe should have been a champion some point in his should have been a world champion some point in his WWE career. But if he's out, there's only one place where I feel he's going to get he's going to get people talking. He's going to get his stock high, and he's also going to sink his teeth into something big. No surprises which one is it.
this is a big loss, man. He should have succeeded in WWE.
Hell yeah. I feel he should have been at least a constant presence in the upper mid card, if not for his injuries. But how can you not give the WWE or Universal Championship to Samoa Joe? And speaking of Universal Championship, man, that feud with Brock was money. Like, you could have made him a champion then. Even if it was for a short period of time, we wouldn't care. He would have gotten the title. We would have been happy with it. But now it feels too late. And now, like with his foot out of the door in WWE, it's going to be, it's going to be great wherever he goes and whatever he does. And like I said, there's only one place, with the current story, if you had to cut control X Joe and control B him somewhere, it's AEW. I mean, of course, it was too obvious for me to not mention that. And if you're having this whole super elite mess versus Moxley and Eddie, I feel Joe could have been an excellent addition to that three man, and he would have kicked some ass.
But here, not only Joe, most of the names could be doing something outside WWE.
Oh, for sure. There are a few. There is one name which I don't have any hopes from outside of WWE, because he's already got his priorities sorted in his post wrestling career.
I
I'm
think you are
talking about
talking about Bo Dallas.
Yes, Bo Dallas. He already has a farm of his own, and he's taking the real estate licenses. And his last wrestling appearance was in late 2019. So I think it's okay. This is one guy you can't really expect much from, because he wasn't wrestling for a long time, and he can just stay at home, earn his paycheck. Not earn his paycheck. He stay at home, do whatever he likes. But there's another one I feel,
But
I don't really.
yeah, before you head to the next person, I want to get your
Okay.
thoughts on Bo Dallas's entire run from NXT to main roster.
Well, to put it bluntly, I would say I wasn't watching most of his NXT. Like when he was at top of NXT, I wasn't watching NXT then. I wasn't watching wrestling completely. But when I got back into wrestling was, I think, early 2016, when AJ had come to WWE. And at that time, Bo Dallas was doing some comedy stuff with Heath Slater and Curtis Axel, and there's one more guy. Yeah, Adam Rose. So, I mean, I don't know what, I never got the appeal, but when I go back, look at his NXT run and how it panned out, there was a lot of potential for him to succeed, like as a homegrown talent, and WWE loves homegrown talents. So there was quite a lot of potential. They could have done something even in like the mid card, but they didn't. They chose not to. And having said that, since then, the only time I think he was interesting was Mr. Raj, and after that, B Team. That was the only time they actually cared to do something with him. Otherwise, it wasn't. I mean, I wasn't entirely familiar, in live action, but in hindsight, when you look back most of his things, I'm like, you could have really done something with him. He was actually quite talented on his own right.
And he really got over, in 2014 with that Bo Leaf gimmick.
Yeah, he was a heel back then, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that was the time period where, people like Daniel Bryan and Cesaro were getting over. And, basically everyone on the roster was getting over at that time.
But then, if you get over if you're on your own, we're going to cut your legs from underneath. Classic WWE stereotype.
That's Bo Dallas. So let's talk about Mickey James. There are a lot of news regarding her. So
Uh,
she's one of the talents. Like she got completely wasted when she came back to WWE. Like
I,
they could have let her stay in NXT. There was some hope, but they brought her, then they didn't use her. She became the lackey for Alexa Bliss, and then she disappeared.
I appreciate the unintentional pun that he used there. Knowing what this there, like, wasted. That was some really good wordplay, man. I salute you for that. But okay, jokes aside, it was, yeah, they did completely, effed it up with her, because again, she returned in NXT, if I'm not mistaken. With she had a match with Asuka there.
Yes.
That was a good match. You could have done something more with there, in NXT, because NXT is like, it's a bit of a wrestling school if you think about it. Like, even especially at that time, and having Mickey there, it would have been a great presence for the other talent who were there at the time. and then you got her on SmackDown. You used her as lackey for Alexa Bliss, and then uh, I think they split up briefly at that time. No,
And
no,
she
no, they
became a
did not. They
baby
did
face
not.
or something.
Yeah, she became a babyface. She started cursing Alexa. They drafted her to Raw in that time frame, and again they didn't do anything with her. And then she came back, and then again they didn't do anything with her. She was completely wasted, and then she got injured for a while. I think she had an ACL during the time. I think she was drafted to SmackDown in 2019 as when whole Roman was on SmackDown, Murphy was on SmackDown at that time. So they drafted her to SmackDown. She got her ACL, and after that, oh yeah, that was this another instance why they drafted her to SmackDown, because she called herself the Monday Night.
MILF.
Yes, she called her that, and they moved her to Tuesdays, and they didn't do anything with her since. So that's sad. But
That's a
might as
that's a big get for Tony Khan. He's gonna
oh
instantly
yes,
sign.
oh for sure. But you want to talk about the latest news about Mickey James?
I want to get your thoughts on that whole situation. Sending her. Somebody sent. I think her old gear, her stuff in a trash bag. So this generated some controversy, and I think even the higher ups in WWE even didn't know about it.
I think they must be aware, man. Like, even if you have like a big company to run, and I feel most of the people who got fired in this instance, they were just the fall guys. I don't trust WWE enough to do something positive at this point.
Listen, listen, listen. You got your higher ups, and then you got your stooges.
Stooges.
Yes. So the stooges are the real cancer here.
You could say that, but again, if that's the case, then deservingly so. They got their boot out. I mean, they got booted out. Sorry, my bad.
So
So
who's the guy that got booted out? Mark Carano.
yes, which was a complete shock to me, because since I think 2016, I've been listening to his name a lot, because many of the released guys, they always get a call from Mark Carano, who's like, "You're fired," blah. But all those all those times back, I've heard a few positive things about him, like, he's quite cooperative, he's a good guy and all that. But now when he's at the bottom in terms of reputation, people are coming out and saying, he harassed me, he's a sexist pervert, blah blah blah. But it was a shock to me, because after hearing all of that, and now, with John Laurinaitis being the talent guy, it only they might have needed an excuse to fire him, because his role was taken by Johnny Ace.
I don't know how Bruce Pritchard didn't make the cut.
I hope he goes soon, man. I
That's not
just
gonna
let him
happen
out.
because he's back on that right man of Vince McMahon position.
Yeah, like two out of touch old dudes just ruining the current product. But yeah, he should have been gone long back.
But
But apart,
yeah, go on.
sorry,
You're
yeah,
gone, go on.
continue. Yeah, I was saying, apart from Mark Carano, there were two other guys. So it's basically one guy who got his job taken away from him, but you shuffled an entire department of that as well. So there was some guy named John Villa who was training the talent in terms of media appearances, and helping them get those said media appearances. I heard a few positive things about him, like Carmella and Charlotte Flair, and there was another wrestler who came out and appreciated his insight as a boss, quote unquote. And there's another interesting name who wasn't fired, I suppose, but he was that part of job was taken away from him. It was referee John Cone from Monday Night Raw.
What happened to him?
So he was also, it seems he was a senior manager for talent relations. I think he was looking after the referees, and he was like bosses for referees, which sounds a bit silly to me. But if that's the case, and if you're just demoting him to just being a referee, I think it's kind of sad. If he didn't have anything to do with it, and you're just shuffling the entire thing all by itself.
But that's the whole situation with Mickey James and what controversy happened with her. But let's quickly get into the other names. Mojo Rawley. I think he got lucky, during that. When was that? Who was that celebrity or sports guy that came with him last year?
Rob Gronkowski.
Yes, he got lucky during that period. I think WWE considered him as a priority at the time, because him being affiliated
Mm,
with Rob Gronkowski. But previous years, he has been just a guy. Could have been. He had some potential at one point, just
they
when
gave
he
him
got
the
to the main roster.
Yeah, they gave him the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Like they made him win that, and they did absolutely FA with him. And if you're making a list and if you're ranking the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royals winners and how their careers have prospered since, Mojo Rawley is the worst one, which isn't an achievement by itself. But his, you know, I had read this somewhere, and I think it's so true that Mojo Rawley to Rob Gronkowski. He's like Gronk was his meal ticket, and he was like the Brutus Beefcake to Gronkowski's Hulk Hogan. So that couldn't have been any truer. But his last match was on SmackDown June 2020 with
Corbin.
Shorty G. Shorty G.
Acha.
So that
Anyways,
was gone. Yeah,
I don't see
yeah.
him wrestling somewhere else. Maybe in the
I think
Indies.
I don't see him wrestling in at all. He could go back to NFL, be doing the whole analysis thing. I think that will be perfectly fine for where he is. So maybe
Uh
I don't know. I'm not very too keen on Mojo Rawley, but he was a nice guy backstage. Everyone liked his presence, his energy there, and he was quite charismatic for his own act.
yeah,
So that
that's why I like the whole hype bros deal back in NXT.
yeah. I mean, there was some potential, like you said, but I don't think you could have. Maximum you could have given him a US title, and to an extent a tag title, because tag titles are relevant, and you could have done that with the High Bros, or whichever tag partner you could have given him to work with. I think that would have been a ceiling, which is sad to say, but I mean that's the harsh reality, right?
Talking about harsh realities, Tucker Knight got released too here. So he was part of heavy machinery, which no one asked for this team to break up.
Yes. Why did you do that? Like we've talked about this, in the past. Why did you have to break up Tucker and Otis when you just had to put the main guy of the act and just had to slot him in another tag team and turn him heel? Why? It's rubbish. Whatever, both of them got shortchanged in this whole debacle. But they weren't going to do much with Tucker anyway, because Otis was the star of the act, and he was doing very well as the straight man to Otis's crazed antics. But you turned him heel, you gave him like the jobberest jobber outfits, and then you gave him a 24/7 title reign, which is fine. But why did you have to break heavy machinery if you were going to do all of these things?
That was a solid tag team.
Oh yes, they could have won the tag team championship. You could have kept Otis's money in the bank situation going, and if he had lost it, he had something to celebrate about. And Otis, you can take him seriously to a certain point of time. At that point, it could have worked. He at least had tag team championship. He could have celebrated something like that, man. At least make it make sense. You're not going to expect that from WWE, but at least make us care about something. And whatever we care about, just don't take it away like the way that you did.
And
I'm still pissed about it, man.
And we saw a similar situation, with the Iconics. We didn't even need that team to break up. But honestly, I didn't like both ladies as singles act.
If there was any positive, that was Billy Kay, because she were had like very less to work with, and she, they say, right, you take the ball and you run with it. Billy Kay did exactly that. Her resume gimmick was getting over, and she was one of the most interesting acts during the Royal Rumble. She was funny as hell during the Riot Squad thing, and after that, now the tag team with Carmella, there was some potential, man. And Peyton Royce, I couldn't get behind her as a single star. Let's just put it bluntly there. I feel, again, for both of them, there is only one place to go, and I think they're going to be a tag team there as well. You know what I'm referring to.
AEW is an option, but I would say send these two ladies to Impact.
Yes, that's also a very good. That's also a very good option for them, because Impact's women's division right now, it's like the best there is in wrestling, and American wrestling at least. So, have they're not the very, the strongest of workers, but as an act, as an alternative, because you need to have certain varieties in your wrestling. And if Diona is like the strong wrestling virtuosa champ, you could have had them as like a proper act. And oh yes, they have an Impact tag championship as well, right? The Knockouts tag title.
That's why I said go to Impact. You could go to AEW, but Impact could be a even better option, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they'll at least be relevant, because AEW's women's division, it's come far, but it's not their strongest point just yet.
It's
There is
gonna
a
be
lot of
stronger,
work.
man. You wait at least a month or so. This women's division is gonna surpass NXT.
Oh, I can't wait for that, because AEW's women's division has gotten a lot of flack in the recent years, but they're building up to it, and I'm interested to see where this goes. So, a lot of uh, fingers fingers crossed, we can see something more. And I think you're getting to what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, those were the situation with the Iconics, and I hope they do better outside. But you mentioned AEW. I can't wait for Ray Phoenix versus Samurai Del Sol.
Yes, Kalisto, man. Samurai Del Sol was his name. Sorry, I
And
think I messed that up.
Did you know this guy before the pandemic started signed a new 5-year deal?
What? Did he?
Yes,
Oh my god, this is even worse than his release.
that's why we talk about what is the point of this budget cuts and you sign these new people. Like this doesn't make sense at all.
He must have gotten like tons of cash, man. He could just stop wrestling for a year, and he'd still be surviving on that money, man. But
I
wow.
think that was his plan.
Yeah, loot WWE as much as you can, and fair F and play for you on that.
Now
But
he
yeah,
now he can
sorry.
he use that WWE name value and use it somewhere else.
Yes, I feel he can. We spoke about Impact and Kalisto, or Samurai del Sol, that's what you call it, right? Samurai del Sol in the X division. I think that's going to be brilliant. But frankly speaking, I hated Kalisto because he blocked me on Twitter.
Why do you get blocked by wrestlers, man?
I don't know what grudges do they have with me. I just called him a charismaless vacuum piece of shit, but
He's a great professional wrestler though.
he's a great wrestler, but he was just terrible otherwise. But meh. As a wrestler, yes, as if I want to say, like, have him go to the X division and just kill it there, or maybe with the obvious alternative AEW, have him wrestle. I'm just giving the current scenarios right now. You're not gonna guess what's going to happen 3 years down the line when all their no compete clause wraps up. But Kalisto versus Samurai Del Sol versus Darby Allin is also going to be an interesting match. Samurai Del Sol versus Jungle Boy, and the list is endless. What is he going to do? Even have him wrestle death matches in GCW. I would still be happy.
Samurai Del Sol can literally work anywhere.
Yes, as a wrestler, he was really good. I just could care less about him otherwise. But I hope if this is enough for him to unblock me on Twitter, I'll be happy. I'll start liking him more and more.
And I think I saved the best for last, I guess. The unfortunate one on this list, Chelsea Green.
You missed another name actually.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Who? Wesley Blake.
Yes, he was the forgotten son in WWE, and he's the forgotten son outside of WWE in this release list.
I think I forgot about Wesley Blake.
We all did. We all did at some point of time.
But let's talk
And
Chelsea Green, man. Let's talk Chelsea Green.
yes,
She was the unfortunate one on this list, because I think she also mentioned in some interview that she at least has had 6 to 8, at least 10 debuts in this 3 years she spent in WWE.
was it 3 years?
I think she got signed around.
Yeah, she got signed in 2018, which was after what was that show that they did?
All In.
After All In. She
Yes,
got signed after All In, and they did complete FA with her,
that's
which is
like she had several debuts, 3 some random appearances on Raw, and then she got a decent amount of run on NXT. And that didn't even go anywhere.
That's was also sad. Like they had her do the things with this guy, the Tony Khan lookalike. What's his name?
Robert Stone.
Robert Stone. Yes. So they had that, which was going somewhere, and they had her appear at the Royal Rumble, which was sweet. I was genuinely happy for her when she came onto the Royal Rumble. And after that, sky was the limit for what all they could have done with her. You could have given her an NXT, opportunities here and there, and you could have just slowly built her up. And I think she mentioned it in an interview that she was going to debut as an ally for Charlotte Flair on
I think it was
NXT as
Mickey
well.
James. Mickey James and her was supposed to be a thing, I guess.
Well, that was fairly recent, but I think she mentioned it. Oh, yes, she mentioned it on the Sean Ross Sapp podcast, on the Sean Ross Sapp interview, that she was going to be a lackey for Charlotte Flair, and it was going to be like a master and apprentice act. Charlotte is like the master, and she was going to be under her tutelage, and she was going to she was going to learn the ropes as a rookie. I'm just talking in purely in kayfabe here. She was going to be a rookie who was going to learn under her, and then there was going to be an eventual turn where she was going to be set on her own and become the big babyface star, which would have been awesome, because Charlotte, again, I've been gushing about Charlotte Flair a lot on this podcast. I feel she's the best women's wrestler in WWE right now, and having that act would have meant something.
Yoshirai.
Maybe yes, I'm talking about main roster here. We talk about main roster as well.
Sasha Banks.
Okay, we are talking about
Continue.
Raw here.
You
Still.
get your point across. I'm just messing with.
Okay, I know that. We could have kept this joke going. So Charlotte Flair, maybe they were trying this act with Dana Brooke a few years ago. Now it would have meant a lot more as with Chelsea Green. But that also, they split her up with Robert Stone, and they proceeded to do absolutely jack, shit. They didn't do anything with her all these months, and then she debuts on SmackDown, which was also forgettable in that Survivor Series qualification match
And she
with
got injured.
yeah. Then she got injured again. Like she's had a curse with injuries, because anytime she had something big going on with her, she used to get injured.
And her NXT
So
debut also came with injury.
yeah, I don't remember which one. I think it was the arm injury itself, because I remember she was when her real life partner Matt Cardona had proposed to her. She had an arm brace, but
She spent her 2 years with injury itself.
Yes, she was kind of the female Jamo.
Samojo.
She was the she was the female Samojo in this instance, which is also sad. But yeah, we were talking about the Mickey James and Chelsea Green duo. They were teasing it a lot on social media, and it would have been fine with me because the women's tag division anyway it lacks depth. You know, the more fresh faces you have, it could have been better. But these two are like actual legit proper talented wrestlers. Again, you could have done the master and apprentice thing over here, but you know, it's okay. But again, with Chelsea Green having to go out of WWE, and again, I was, for a fact that Abhi recently, while we were talking about this, after the Iconics, I thought you were going to build up to Chelsea Green, but that was a good bait and switch. So thank you for that.
Let's
So,
shall we
but
get
yeah,
to the Forgotten
AEW.
Son or
Now let's continue with Chelsea Green. So again, AEW, easy avenue, maybe, with a talent like that, it's hard to turn down. And Tony, with these recent releases are going to be, fortune for Tony Khan. Yeah, Samoa Joe and Chelsea Green. I think these two are going to be the biggest stars, and also Mickey James, hands down.
shall we get to the last one?
Yes,
The Forgotten Son, Wesley Blake.
Wesley Blake.
Imagine, releasing Steve Cutler and then Wesley Blake and then keeping a Trump supporter on your roster.
Dusty. That was completely sad, man. Like, they lost their TV time because of this Jamoke, Jackson Riker, and now he's the more relevant of the three, which is very sad. But again, it's expected from WWE. The entire company is filled with Trump supporters. But I don't think, yeah, they were the only time. I think the most recent thing they did was being lackeys to Baron Corbin, which is also not saying much.
They could have done
So
something with them. Could have done something with Baron Corbin, and that didn't go anywhere. Because that was the same time this whole Jackson Riker stuff happened.
I don't think so. That was Jackson Riker was like during the peak of the whole, the protests that were going on, and then he proceeded to become a jackass on social
Something
media.
like that. Something like that.
Yes, but this whole Baron Corbin thing happened like late last year, so I think you could have done something. Yes, I personally, if I were to book it, maybe have this guy job out constantly to talents, like be an enhancement talent for a certain while, and then you could have reunited a certain tag team over there with Blake and Murphy.
There was a potential to reunite those two guys.
Yes, but they didn't even do that, which is sad. But I don't know what is he going to do outside. I
He can
heard he
he
was
can
like,
be a really good tag team wrestler with if he joins with Steve Cutler.
yes, or else I feel if he's going, I feel he'd have a better career in Impact. And if he joins the stable with
Eric
Eric
Young.
Young. Yes, Eric Young. If there is some potential, or maybe even this guy, Kurt Hawkins. They could. What's his name now? Brian Myers. You could. There is some potential over there, but I heard like he was kind of training younger stars in the performance center, and he was like a good hand. He was a reliable hand as a wrestler, so they could do some usefulness over there. But I don't know. Time will tell what is going to happen with him. So
I think we ran through the entire list, man.
yes, we did.
So shall we quickly wrap things up with SmackDown?
Yes, let's do it. To it.
So we had, I think they kicked off with this whole deal with Cesaro, and then we got Seth Rollins coming back again because he doesn't want to leave Cesaro. So I think the main story was Cesaro, if we will get that title opportunity with Roman Reigns, right?
Yes, they are building up to it, and I think one of us called it on the podcast previously
Yeah,
that it could.
Yeah, that
if
Cesaro is gonna be the next contender for the Universal title.
yeah, and it would be good because the period after WrestleMania is slightly the cool down period, and you usually experiment some lower card wrestlers to go high up, and if they can hang, then they can stay in the main event. But yeah, I think that's the direction with they're going with Cesaro, and personally huge fan of it.
And
But la-
and how did
you
you
continue.
like, Daniel Bryan was also there tonight. How did you like Daniel Bryan being the spokesperson for Cesaro? We'll get to, what it would eventually
We'll get
lead
to
to,
it.
but what did you think about that situation?
I feel it wasn't, it was good because Brian is also one of the bulletproof guys in WWE, and getting an endorsement from someone like Daniel Bryan is as big as it's going to get for a babyface on SmackDown. But yeah, and Cesaro's talking is not his strongest
Strong
suit.
point.
So yeah, and Daniel Bryan could be the hype man, so to speak, for even if it's for a short period of time. We'll get to it, but man, I hope this is like the best possible opportunity for Cesaro. Even if you're going to make him lose, it's okay because it's Roman Reigns, and he's been doing wonders with talents that are slightly underneath him. And with, like I said, with Kevin Owens, it galvanized his babyface run. And now with Cesaro, it's even if he loses, he's going to be booked strong, one, and he's going to become a star. He'll get there, but it's going to take a while, but it'll all be worth it, is what I'm saying for Cesaro.
And it was there how they did the whole deal with the promos and the opening segment and the match. It was really a fun deal for the last first half an hour of the show.
Oh yes, like okay. So on a more contextual basis, they had a Cesaro versus Jey Uso last week because Roman was gloating and Cesaro interrupted, which rustled my Jimmy's, man. I was so happy that this is the direction they're going for. And then Jey Uso and Cesaro had a match which Rollins effed up, and then this week Rollins is saying that it ain't over till I say it's over. And then the whole Teddy Long situation happened when people came out and it became a tag team match. And after that, Cesaro and Brian won decisively after Seth Rollins walked out on Jey Uso, which, I mean, it's okay. It adds up to the story. So if they are building for Cesaro versus Roman, and should we address the final segment now itself, because
We
it's the
will
same
address
story.
that, but there is also a door that they opened up in with Seth Rollins walking out.
Continue, please.
Yeah, like I was just saying, they also opened a small door, with Seth Rollins walking out of that tag team match, which could lead to a future Seth Rollins Roman Reigns match in the future.
Yeah, but I don't think with the current alignment, I don't think how it's going to make sense. And as to put it bluntly, Seth Rollins has, in terms of relevance alone, he needs to, like, his character or his talk needs to work a little to get back to being a serious contender, because he's been doing comedy stuff for a while since returning on SmackDown, and the whole mid card Messiah stuff led nowhere. So
Let's get to the main conclusion of the story that happened in the end, man. Some great stuff here.
oh man, is this is I can't wait for this, man. So uh yeah, you can lead me on this one.
So what happened was we were finally gonna get the answer if Roman is gonna give Cesaro the title shot or not. So we had finally Roman coming out. So instead, this guy, see, first off, he abuses Cesaro, and he's openly said that he's not gonna get the opportunity. But he's the speaking about opportunity, he's gonna give that opportunity to Daniel Bryan and said it's gonna be a situation of championship versus career, something like that. So we are gonna get this title match next week. So Daniel
Loser leaves
Bryan
town.
is quote unquote putting his career on the line. They said that it's gonna just gonna disappear from SmackDown, but in as a outsider, as a hardcore fan, we know it's a bigger deal than this. So thoughts on this whole situation?
Okay. So contextually, again, Daniel Bryan off screen, he had an interview with Alex McCarthy. I don't know who was it. It was someone from BT Sport, and then he he put out an interesting nugget of information that his contract with WWE is coming up, and they were on screen. They were building it as his last WrestleMania, and if this reports are to be believed, that this is Daniel Bryan's, his contract is coming up, and he did say that he's trying to seek a way to wrestle everywhere at once. So he said that he's trying to work for a deal where he's wrestling in WWE at the same time he's working other promotions. But that's too good to be true for it to happen, solidly happen. But this I'm surprised they did it this soon, on TV, because Daniel Bryan, again, it kind of makes sense, because Roman and Bryan, this is like the definitive end of a feud by itself. And they've put it into a situation that if Daniel Bryan loses, he's going to quit SmackDown, they said. I don't think they said that he's going to quit WWE.
Yeah, like, but now that you have mentioned the story, outside story, it looks like he's gonna be leaving WWE altogether. Even I tweeted out that next week that WWE will write off Daniel Bryan off WWE for good.
But I don't know, man. If it happens, like I mentioned earlier, there are thousand other things you can do better if you're outside of WWE now. But and having Brian, if he goes, if he's out of WWE, and if he goes AEW, Impact, or wherever, this guy is like the biggest lottery ticket you're going to have, beat any promotion. And the only way the only place is obviously AW, because they have the money for it. But knowing Daniel Bryan, even if he goes to Impact, he's going to make them relevant. So that's there. But the possibilities are endless, the dream matches are endless. But if Daniel Bryan leaves WWE, I'd be more happy than sad, because I'm getting those dream matches outside of WWE. It's going to suck for the talent, because he was doing the creative bidding for most of these guys like Cesaro, Apollo Crews recently. He had Roman and Daniel vouch for him, and a lot of undercard talent are going to suffer a little, because there's no one a staunch supporter of them who might go out. But the dream matches, I'll take the dream matches any day. So I'll be interested to see where this story goes, and what the whole Daniel Bryan situation is. I
This
can't wait for it.
this is intriguing, man. How they have set up this whole situation. This is intriguing. A must watch.
Yes,
Now you have, as a fan, invested me to watch SmackDown.
exactly. Like, there is that intrigue, because you don't know what's going to happen, and that's what makes pro wrestling fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's amazing. Like, you're going to tune into SmackDown, you're going to get your viewers, and you're going to wait for what they do with Daniel Bryan. Possibilities are endless, no matter what. So
Or
that's
this
that's
could
that's
be,
fun.
the management, or I think this is a Paul Heyman idea personally. I think they are working us,
Won't be
taken
surprised.
this taken this Daniel Bryan story, and after SmackDown is done, Daniel Bryan could end up with a new contract. Who knows?
Yes, it's if it's. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by the least if it's a Paul Heyman idea, because if there's anyone who can work wrestling fans in today's day and age, it's definitely Paul Heyman.
Anyways,
But
I that's on that note, I'm not keeping, lot of hopes for, if Daniel Bryan walks out of WWE.
yes, and if they take him off SmackDown, and this is like talking in pure WWE logic. If they take him off SmackDown and if they put him on Raw, it's going to suck. It's going to suck so much.
So that was,
It's this is
the
in WWE logic.
yeah. So that was the Universal title picture situation, very intriguing one, and the highlight of the entire SmackDown. But what else happened on SmackDown, man? I think we had a Intercontinental Championship match, I guess.
Yes. I think most of the show was filler. Even if you take it 2 months back, it's not going to change much. So Apollo Crews had an like he was asked to defend his championship by the management, and Kevin Owens steps up to the opportunity, which it was a really good match. I mean, these two are super workers, and Apollo as an act is starting to find his footing, on a more in the upper echelons of the card, and they even gave him a bodyguard, Baba
What's his
Tunde,
name? Commando.
Commander Aziz,
Yes,
formerly known as Daba Dabaketo. He was called on Raw Underground,
yes, and
and
formerly known as Baba Tunde.
Baba Tunde.
Yes.
Like both his previous names are petition to write jokes in Hindi. So
Now he's a Nigerian commando now.
yes, that's his. I think it's to his roots. He is Nigerian IRL.
I don't think so. Is
I
he?
think he is. I think he is like not completely Nigerian, but maybe like he has some roots here and there. I read that he's Polish and he's Nigerian both at the same time. But they have given Apollo Crews a bodyguard, and as that's what they tend to do with foreign heels in WWE. Isn't surprising, but I think it works for Apollo as well. So and I had if Baba Tunde wasn't I mean, if it wasn't going to happen, I had an interesting alternative for this, even if it wasn't Baba Tunde, because I feel you can still do that now, but I feel Baba Tunde is a better prospect than what I was going for.
But anyways,
So
man. Anyways, these two had a pretty solid match. Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews. I think they kind of protected Owens with that finish tonight. And
yes,
by the way, there was a post match angle. Who was that? The Commando. I don't even get his name. What is his full
Aziz,
name?
Commander Aziz,
Yeah.
Commander
So
Aziz.
he beat up Kevin Owens, and does that open up the door, for Kevin Owens to get back to Apollo Crews again?
Yes, and if after the match, Sami Zayn had a bit of score to settle with Kevin Owens, and if you're doing that feud, and if you're in a way, somewhere down the line, if you take the Intercontinental Championship from Apollo and you put it in this Owens and Zayn feud, it's going to work, because these guys have always been about one-upsmanship, and the story is always there, and you can only make it more interesting that way. So I'm interested, and I'm interested to see what they do.
And we
But
also have Biggie getting the title shot rematch next week.
so they are actually making Apollo a fighting champion, but as a heel. It can work, Apollo is a really good worker to have this theme going. But after Biggie, the feud with Biggie has ran its course a long time back. So once Biggie is out of the picture, who do you see challenging for the title?
I,
Just
I
any could
think
be
there is a
anyone.
certain depth for that Intercontinental Championship.
Yes, like the mid card scene on SmackDown is actually not that bad. It's you
Y-
have a lot of people who can vouch for it. Like,
You can put Nakamura back on that spot.
oh hell yeah, I this this is a really good division, so to speak. But man, I feel sorry for Shinsuke Nakamura more and more now. But if he is also a fodder to further boost Apollo's character, then I think he's done.
And that was the Intercontinental Championship situation, man. What's happening with the SmackDown Women's Championship? And how the hell did they put Bailey versus Bianca Belair for WrestleMania Backlash?
I think I spoke about this in one of the previous episodes that if you're giving Bianca a championship win, there is a ready-made feud with Bailey waiting because well, Bailey is like the historic person one, and the feud never really got over during even after the Royal Rumble. So there was the feud was already there, but I genuinely disliked the way they did that, and it wasn't even WWE announcing it on Twitter that gave away the news. The thing was on. It was a newsletter that they were trying to build up for Backlash, and the Bianca versus Bailey match was there on the newsletter. So that really gave it away, and they announced it on this thing. But there was an interesting tweet by Bailey on this thing that this is better than how Rhea Ripley challenged Asuka for the title, and that was some solid heel work. A
And
plus.
and by the way, now that they have randomly built this match, and if you think about it, there was no other woman on SmackDown to pair with Bianca Belair other than Sasha and Bailey.
Yeah, there there is literally no one on the show.
Believable, I should say. Believable.
Believable, yes. Like the rest of them are busy with the tag team situation, so I don't really blame them for going straight with Bailey. But they can drag this program for a long time, and even if the build sucked between Sasha and Bianca, but if you stretch this out, I think with Bailey's tendency to refresh her act every now and then, I feel you can drag this out and it still won't feel stale to me.
By the way, did you see how they tried to make Bailey look weak against the Bella?
On WrestleMania, right? That
Yes.
sucked. That sucked so much, man. Like, she was the only interesting host on the show because we hate Hogan and poor Titus was working with what he was given. But Bailey was the only interesting highlight on a more backstage side of things, and even then she got jabroned.
And they expected us to cheer that.
Why? Yeah, the crowd booed it. The crowd
Yeah.
booed it, and rightfully so. Like, you deserve. If there's anything you deserve it, it goes to WWE for the whole booing situation.
So what
Come
else
on,
did we have, man? We have something with the tag teams finally.
Before we get to the tag teams, I'll just get this out of the way. So, Tamina defeated Nia Jax in a rematch that we were gagging for. So again, they're trying to tease the breakup of Naya and Shayna. At the same time, they are building up Natalia and Tamina as strong contenders.
Do it.
Fair,
Get it over
fair
with.
enough. Exactly, get it over with. And they Natalia and Tamina as a tag team is like they are actually investing a lot of time in that, and you can see this going somewhere. And if it happens, if they get the championship, break up Naya and Shayna, fine with me. Just do it. Just get over with. Like, and okay, so sorry for the deviation in topic. So the tag team championship scene is basically the same as what it was. Like, ever since we started doing this series, it's the same tag team match. So it's the Mysterio.
Same tag team division, I should say.
Yes. Like, we did give them props for having some teams to sink their teeth into, but blah. It's the same old stuff. So the Mysterios are still facing Otis and Chad Gable, and the Mysterios win after a competitive match. But what else are they going to do? The main thing is, if this win results in something, and if the title match was anything to go by, they are building it towards Ray and Dominic versus Rude and Ziggler for the tag team championships, which they should have done it at WrestleMania. Give them their moment and get over with. I just could care less about Dolph Ziggler in 2021.
And I think the only thing left to talk is Alistair Black, I guess.
Yes. So finally, finally got to do something with Alistair Black after 6 months of him sitting at home. If reports are to be believed, he was he was nursing an injury, which, if it's true, then we can understand why he wasn't being used all this while. But again, like, in the grand scheme of things, how can you not do something with Alistair Black? Even if he was injured, you could have just, like, have him cut his promos, just build up to something. But the timing couldn't have been any right. The timing couldn't have been any correct for having to do something with Alistair Black. But this promo, man, it was haram for me to watch in Ramadan because it's glorifying Satan. You know what I'm trying to say here.
Yep, yep, yep.
But so it was a very good promo, like, and to get into a more slightly backstage news of it, they were filming it on the day the whole release the talents were released on the day. So this was the news, like everyone's writing, where's Alistair Black, what is he, like, is he going to get released too?
And
I,
someone tweeted that someone tweeted at Alistair Black that please don't pick up your phone.
the JTG way of surviving,
And
still relevant in 2021.
yeah, and by the way, now they are, he was all these years, he was this evil, silent guy. Now he's talking. Now they are kind of humanizing him, and the character they are going with is now like a lost child, a lonely guy. Same, the lonely guy, but a lost child, something like that.
I can get behind that, because this promo, if there's anyone who could make this work, it was Alistair Black. And if you're having this silent evil guy, you're giving him more to do with, and he still has those evil tendencies. You know what I mean? Like, there is a huge potential in what you can do with this act and how you can take it forward. But I don't know if the fiend can be used as an example. It's don't get your hopes high too soon.
I'm not any. I'm not. I'm seeing how where this goes storyline, but I'm not keeping my
Yes,
high hopes for this one. I
I don't think
I
anyone is.
don't be surprised if he makes debut 1 week and then next week they drop the ball on.
Classic WWE. And yeah, so where do you see this going, like, as if you were to predict something out of it?
I think this is your last attempt at making something out of Alistair Black, first of all. And I think this is, the re-debut of the whole Alistair Black character.
He was Mr. Irrelevant in the entire draft because he was the last one drafted, which they stayed true to their point, with they having not used him in like 6 months, and now you're giving him something to do, which is interesting. But again, like, let's wait for a few weeks, where this whole thing goes. But there is a lot of potential, and I personally am kind of excited to see, what are they going to do with him.
Yeah, let's see where this goes, and that was SmackDown, man. Excited
So
for next
we've
week's show because they have built a quote unquote big show.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true, and that's pretty true. I feel, yeah. So they've done their job on having built the intrigue to next week's show with the whole Daniel Bryan situation. Oh, and speaking of which, what are your thoughts on the new commentary team on SmackDown?
Pat McAfee.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought this guy came off really good on commentary.
Oh, he's such a natural talker. So it only made sense for him to give him, but I wasn't really expecting him to get the call up to SmackDown this soon. But I'm so happy for the guy, man. He is a genuine wrestling fan, and having his run in NXT last year to now, he's someone who gets it, as a wrestling fan and someone who's in the business. It's so much fun to see, and I feel that it's only going to get interesting, if they're just going to make fun of Michael Cole on commentary. And yeah, but I was kind of expecting Nigel McGuinness to have a role on SmackDown after they took away Corey Graves.
I think they want to keep Nigel McGuinness on UK itself.
Yeah, is he still doing NXT UK?
Last I checked, is still on NXT UK.
Yes, and then who's on 205 Live then?
Who cares, man? Who watches 205 Live?
Is Tom
God,
Phillips
man.
there? There's Tom Phillips there. That's the only thing I know, which is I felt sorry for him, but again, if it's true that he wanted a backstage role, then fair play.
I feel sorry for whoever watches 205 Live.
Me too. I'm talking about Tom Phillips in general, but if he's getting paid to watch 205 Live, then
So be it.
thumbs up. So be it.
So before we leave, man, where can these guys find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at rid_Aman. That's RID_Aman to keep it more specific. And if you're watching this on video form, you'll see my username at the top of my messed up hair. So good job,
And
Wikipedia.
and you can find Slam Up Wrestling on Twitter at Slam Up Debut, Instagram at Slam Up Wrestling, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.